Alrighty, so we're in our class on luxury vinyl versus hardwood floors, and we'll just have a pretty informal conversation about what's the difference between the two, why would you choose one over the other. If you have any questions as I go, just feel free to interrupt me. But I'm going to try to cover just the basics of solid hardwood versus engineered hardwood, and what is a laminate floor, and why does laminate and engineered and luxury vinyl all get confused. So I'm just going to try to just give you the basics of each of these products, why you choose one over the other, and we'll actually talk about trend a little bit, some style, and talk about our store a little bit. We are a full service store, which means we offer installation. Our store is on West Battlefield, past Grizzly, over by the police station over there. If you haven't been, we have a beautiful showroom there. And another unique thing about our store that has just worked really well for us is we're a commission-free area. So you come in our store, we tell people none of our staff are depending on your job, for their paycheck. So we're pretty laid back, and we're just there to educate and to show you really cool products and help you with your flooring buying decisions. So I'm Rick Morey. My wife, we started it about 15 years ago, 14 or 15 years ago, and through all that, that's our family there on that ad. 4 daughters, and through all that we had the 4 daughters, so we've kind of grown the business, grown the family. So it's been a great 14, 15 years for us. So we'll just start off with talking about basically the who's of solid hardwood or hardwood in general and luxury vinyl. So there's a lot of brands out there. With luxury vinyl, it's probably a little more important to pay attention to the brand than hardwood. Hardwood, there are so many manufacturers anymore, and there's some in the U.S., a lot of them overseas, and the overseas ones, because of the shipping issues that we're having right now, it's kind of been a pain the last, I'd say just probably about a month for us, just because there's so many things that are being held up at the port, getting stuff from overseas. So the who's of luxury vinyl, you have Cortec, and I'll talk about Cortec a lot today. They actually invented luxury vinyl, the waterproof luxury vinyl. Luxury vinyl has been around for a long time. Waterproof luxury vinyl is, relatively new, I'd say within the last 7 to 10 years to the flooring world. But since the waterproof luxury vinyl has come out, it has just kind of taken over the flooring world by storm. What I always say about luxury vinyl is there's a lot of junk. There's a lot of garbage. You have to really know what you're looking for, and even then, sometimes so I give this example all the time. So in our store, we stock a ton of products. We have over 100-something products in stock in our store, so you can come same day and pick it up. We have a huge warehouse. We have a lot of luxury vinyl in stock. A vendor came in one day to me and said, "Hey Rick, we have the same product, 8 mil thick, 20 mil wear layer, attach pad, same exact paper, the look of it, and we're $1 cheaper than what you're buying it for." So of course, you're going to go for, if it's all the same specs, same wear layer, we're going to start stocking the $1 cheaper instead of the $1 more expensive. And it was basically what I consider a box store brand. So we were trying to be more competitive with their pricing. So basically the first 4, or the only 4 houses we did with it, our installation crews called us and said, "I don't know why this stuff junk all of a sudden, because we've installed just thousands of feet of it, and all of a sudden it's junk. Like the locking system's breaking." And they're worried because we offer a guarantee on it and a warranty through our store. They're thinking like, we're going to spend the next few years going out and repairing a bunch of jobs if we're selling a bunch of this. So I replaced all 4 houses with our normal product, and I learned right then that not all luxury vinyl, even though it says it is, not all of it's created equal. So we made a business decision then that with luxury vinyl, not with carpet or hardwood, but with luxury vinyl, we're only going to carry good quality name brand luxury vinyl products. Because the only reason why you switch over to luxury vinyl is to get more of a bulletproof type floor, like waterproof, scratch resistance, just something that's going to last a long time, not something you're going to have to be messing with and gapping and cracking over, a year or two. So if you walk in our door and you're looking at luxury vinyl, I don't care what you take home with you, you're going to have a quality product. So, but we tell people with hardwoods, we carry some cheap stuff, we carry some really nice stuff. Carpets, we have to carry some cheap stuff, we carry some really nice stuff. Luxury vinyl, it's all good quality stuff. So with the hardwoods, like I was saying, the brand, I'd say we probably stock over 40 something hardwoods, and you probably wouldn't know the brand name of 90% of them. So we just look for basically mills that have really good quality. Their milling's really good, their finish is really good, their style's really good, and their price points, they're willing to negotiate with me to get truckloads and bring in just really good deals for us to stock. So hardwoods will kind of help you, like this is, and we're extremely honest with you. If you're saying like quality, this one's here, this one's here. Just know, basically in hardwood you get what you pay for. So if you see a product that's $250, the quality's not going to be near as good as something at $550. So that's usually a good gauge. We have a few products in there that they're priced around $5. The other colors in that same line are around $7. But that one color, that one product that we've negotiated just a really killer deal on it. So we'll help you, educate you on the quality of that. So we'll start with just hardwood in general and describe the differences. And I gave everybody a magazine because there's a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about today is in this magazine. We put one of these out every year. It talks about our company, who's working there, how you contact them. But the hardwood section, there's a lot of, I call it kind of the flooring nerds magazine, because we basically have a file throughout the year, questions that customers ask over and over, we put it in the file, and the next year we put it in the magazine, like how to answer those questions. So one of the questions is, why choose solid hardwood over engineered hardwood? So we just, in a dumbed down fashion, we just put in a few paragraphs here, why you choose one over the other. And I'll talk about that here in a second, just give you the basics. There's a Janka scale, which measures the hardness of a hardwood floor. So white oak's going to be a certain hardness, a hickory's going to be a certain hardness. Then you have exotics, they're going to be a certain hardness. So when you're shopping for floors, you can kind of gauge. I'd say the most deceiving product is when you talk about walnut. We have people come in all the time, I want walnut floors. When you think of walnut, you think of quality. Walnut's one of the softest, it's like pine. It's one of the softest floors you can put in a house. So this really helps you gauge, the species, whether it's red oak or hickory. This is actually, I work the showroom today, and at our store, we use this every day with people. It's how to maintain your hardwood. So when we have people that are interested in a certain product, I go through and check, this is a urethane product. This over here, this is urethane, this is a Wilco finish. The next page, it shows like how do you maintain that Wilco finish, what are the products, how to maintain it. So it's a good, just outline of how you maintain, because the maintenance is a huge part of your purchase, like how long that floor is going to last. So on the solid versus engineered, solid is just that. It's 3/4 inch solid piece of hardwood. So the National Wood Flooring Association did a test where they put a solid board in a house and an engineered board in a house. They raised the humidity level up in the house to 17%, the relative humidity to 17%. And well, that actually the floor moisture content to 17%. And they left it in there for a week. And when they came back after the week, it was a 5-inch, which is a little wider than this. After a week, they came in and the solid board grew a quarter of an inch, that one board. So if you do the math on that, if you have every 4 boards, that's an inch that your floor is growing. So wood is called hygroscopic, which means when God made a tree, he made it to absorb moisture, and that's how it grows. When you cut it up into a board, you cut it up into furniture, whatever that tree becomes, it still has those qualities, that hygroscopic qualities, where it gains moisture and it swells and it releases moisture and it shrinks. So on a floor, a solid board, when you get it 5 inches or wider, the swelling and the contracting is a lot more exaggerated. So solid floors are great. We tell people we'll sell solid all day long. I'd say 75 to 85% of our hardwood sales are engineered because people like wide plank. So as long as you're getting 2-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch hardwoods and your moisture levels are low, solid floors are great. So because we live in the Midwest and we have a lot of humidity, like I said, 75 to 85% of our sales are engineered hardwood. So engineered hardwood is real wood on the top, so that top layer, and it's measured in mils thick. So this will be, or millimeters thick, this will be 3 millimeter thick engineered hardwood. It starts out at like 1.2 and then it goes up to 2, 2.5, 3, 4, and there's even products up to 6 millimeters thick. So on an engineered hardwood, it's a lot more dimensionally stable because of the backing, the core. So the backing is actually plywood. So they glue this veneer, in this case it's white oak. They glue that veneer to a plywood core and it makes that whole product dimensionally stable. So we've had people ask, well, plywood's wood, so why doesn't it swell and contract? So when a tree swells and contracts, it does it in one direction. So when they're shaving these veneers for plywood, and this is just plywood in general, that's why a builder can deck a whole house and leave a roof off for a while because the plywood isn't going to grow and shrink. So the way it's made is when it's peeled off of these trees, they lay the first layer of plywood like this. The next layer they glue, because it's multi-layered, the next layer they glue 90% or 90 degrees across it. Then the next layer 90 degrees, the next layer like that. So when moisture gets into that whole sheet of plywood, they all just kind of pull themselves together. They stabilize themselves. So if you ever have a plywood that can expand and contract, you have an issue with the plywood. I've never seen one do it because they just kind of stabilize themselves. So personally, we're remodeling a house. We just put in a 10-inch wide board, 10-foot long hardwood floors, all through 3 levels of the house. So engineered, you can put below grade, like you can glue it to a slab, you can put it on grade, you can put it over a crawl space, you can put it over basement. Solid, you have to put it above grade. So it has to be over a crawl space or over a basement. You really can't glue it down to concrete. There's special glues and stuff that you can do that, like on grade, but you're adding another couple, $2, $3 a foot just to be able to glue it down to a on grade slab. So that's the advantages of an engineered floor, is you can get wider boards, longer, and you don't have to worry about the expansion and contraction on an engineered product. So one of the misconceptions on solid hardwood versus engineered is this is a lot better quality floor because I can sand it down multiple times. So and we always explain this to customers, when we install engineered or solid, it has the tongue and groove. Our nails go through the tongue, and then the next board slides on and covers that nail, then it goes through the next tongue, it slides on the next tongue. So you can only sand down to that nail, which is about 4 to 5 millimeters thick, depending on how the nail sunk in. So you only have about 4 or 5 millimeters of sanding surface on a solid floor. You don't have the full 3/4 inch. So it's deceiving because you look at that and you think, we can sand that down 20 times. So on this product, you can see the veneer is 3 millimeters thick. So that's plenty of sanding surface to change the color, put a new finish on, at least once, maybe twice. And on an engineered, as long as it's a smooth engineered, even if it's 2 millimeters or less, you can take the finish off and put a new finish on. You just can't sand it down on the thinner veneers and change the color on them. So, but we also tell people, because we do sand and finish and we do pre-finish, we tell people a pre-finished floor, there's almost 0% chance you'll ever refinish that floor. Because the finish on a pre-finish, on finished in a factory, is way harder than we can ever do inside your home. So when we do a sand and finish, it's basically to match something or to give you a certain look. You know, if you just have a stain you want to do, or you just want like almost a piano finish, or you don't have any kind of beveled edges, that's a sand and finish. I could walk into a house and people live there 20 years and they bought it, you know, from somebody else, and I can tell them within 1 second if it was sand and finish or you know, pre-finished floor, and they're like, oh, I never knew. But I can tell because it's been sanded down, there's no beveled edges. On a pre-finished floor, you have to put a beveled edge, because if you had a high, these aren't the same floor, but if you had a high edge over here and it was a sharp edge, it would cut your foot when you walk on it. So every pre-finished floor that you get, a floor finished in a factory that's been sanded and stained and finished, it will have some sort of bevel to keep that sharp edge off. So the reason why a pre-finished floor is so much better is they can put up to 10 coats of finish. On a sand and finish, we could put about 3 coats, because we're putting polyurethane on and we're letting it air dry. We put another layer, let it air dry, and if you get it too thick, it starts looking cloudy and you start losing the graining on the floor. In a factory, they can spray a coat on, they can put a hardener on it, buff it, spray another coat on, hardener on it, buff it, and then they'll run it through an oven at like 90 degrees or 900 degrees and bake that on, and it's like a baked on meal. So that's why I tell people the chances of you ever refinishing a floor that has a baked on finish is pretty low, because the ones that we sand and finish, they will actually wear off over time. You'll get wear patterns, and if you have pets, you'll see, I mean, it's scratched all over the place. And we tell people just expect every 5-10 years you're going to have to at least refinish, you know, put a new coat of finish on. So sand or a pre-finish, you shouldn't have to do that. So that's engineered versus solid. We sell way more engineered just because the trend right now. People like the wide plank and long boards. If the trend ever comes back narrow, solid's probably gonna, you know, go way up in sales. And there's a lot of manufacturers that don't even sell solid. They just don't want the risk of it. They don't want the, you know, the liability of having a floor that's, and almost every wood issue we deal with through the year is a moisture issue. And there's 0 moisture warranties on hardwood, because it's considered a site issue, not a hardwood issue. If it's too wet in the house, that's not the wood's problem, that's the house problem. So that's a good segue to luxury vinyl. The reason why we sell so much luxury vinyl, so for years we've been like 70-80% hardwood at our store. I'm certified with the National Wood Flooring Association, which means we have to take like up to 60 hours a year in classes, so we stay educated, and I just love hardwood floors. Our store's always done great at bringing hardwood products in and selling them. So last year when we looked at our books, we were 50% luxury vinyl to hardwood, which I never thought I'd be there, but the reason why we are is because the quality of luxury vinyl has gone way up in the last few years. So there's this product here. If this is actually I didn't have this board yesterday, but this is actually our #1 selling luxury vinyl. It's 1/2 inch thick. It's just a heavy duty product. I mean, it's just heavy. Most luxury vinyl, they're thin. Most luxury vinyl sold on the market, they were like, I think the average is 5 to 6 millimeters thick. This is 12. So it's a heavy duty product. So why is luxury vinyl such a huge category? Not just with our store or just our area, just in the US, it's a huge flooring category. I'd say it's 2 reasons: waterproof and kids and pets. So just the wear and tear a luxury vinyl can take. So I'll go over how a luxury vinyl is made. So we'll just use Cortec because we sell a ton of it, and basically every floor manufacturer tries to imitate where they're headed next. They actually have a 3/4 inch luxury vinyl now, which is genius for us because we tear out a lot of old tile that was set at 3/4 of an inch. So that means your baseboards were set at 3/4 of an inch, your door jambs were undercut 3/4 of an inch, and we're replacing that old tile or old hardwood that's 3/4 of an inch with these luxury vinyls that most of the time they're way thinner. So that means your baseboards drop, your door jambs have gaps under them. If you have, if it's going around cabinets, you have to figure out like how you put a thinner floor next to a cabinet without it looking bad. So the 3/4 inch luxury vinyl for us has been genius because we can tear out a floor and go right back in with the same thickness and don't have height issues everywhere. I like the thick products too because they sound better when you walk on them. The thicker the product, the thicker the wear layer they can put on it, and the thicker the embossing they can do on that wear layer, which makes it look more realistic. So basically, if you see a knot on this product, you can feel it. If you see a crack on that, you can feel it. So this has a really thick wear layer, and they emboss it just kind of perfectly where it looks and feels like a real hardwood floor. So on a luxury vinyl, you have several different layers, and in our magazine, so you don't have to memorize this. In our magazine, it has this all spelled out in the luxury vinyl section. So you have a top layer that's a UV protected layer, and I'm just going over this to just kind of give you the qualities of why luxury vinyl is so popular. So you have a UV protected layer, which kind of protects against sunlight and fading. And in that top layer is actually a stain layer, or stain protection layer that helps, if you spilled Kool-Aid on this and left it for several days, it's not going to stain it because that top layer just is built really well. The next layer under that is actually the wear layer. And so if you're shopping for luxury vinyl, one of the most important things to consider is how thick is the wear layer. And every manufacturer has to publish their wear layer. So this chart's always good for us because you can actually feel what we're talking about. So when you're gauging a luxury vinyl, the wear layers go from 6 and now all the way to 30 mil wear layer. So if you can touch this, and I'll have it up here if somebody wants to touch it now, I can pass it to you. This is a 6 mil and it's almost paper thin. That's called a residential wear layer. The next one's 12 or 8 mil. Then the next one's 12, still residential wear layer. And then these last two, you jump up to 20 mil and to a 30 mil wear layer, which this Cortec product has a 30 mil wear layer on it. And the wear layer is just what protects your floor, what keeps it from being scratched, all in pieces. So it's important. We basically in our store out of special order and in stock, we probably have 200 or 300 different selections for you on luxury vinyl, and maybe 5% of those are below 20 mil. We just like the 20 mil wear layer, that commercial grade, even for residential. We just rather sell that better wear layer product. So then the third layer under that, you have the UV protect and the stain coating, then your wear layer, and then you have, and this is where the word vinyl comes into play in this. I tell people all the time, if they take the word vinyl out of this product, even though we sell a ton of it, we sell even that much more, because vinyl just has a negative connotation in the flooring world, because the floor has been around forever, and it could have been like a really cheap floor, curled up on the edges if you ever had it, next to a bathtub, it's curled up. And so it's not the same vinyl as what used to be out there. So this is basically where you're seeing the picture, the vinyl wear layer. So to get the look, they actually printed on a vinyl wear layer. They print, they're trying to imitate as best as they can what a real wood looks like. They printed on that product. So the vinyl part of this floor isn't what makes this such a great floor. So it's the wear layer, and then this next layer is this waterproof core. So there's 3 different types of core, which is in your magazine there. There's a WPC, which is a wood plastic core. There's a SPC, which is a stone plastic core. And then there's just Cortec stone, which is the core is made out of mineral. So this is a WPC, which basically it's a wood plastic core. So Cortec, before luxury vinyl ever came out, the waterproof luxury vinyl, they were a cork company and they were a bamboo company. So they actually grinded up bamboo like to a dust form, put it with this molten plastic and made this batter, this waterproof batter, baked it, and while they're baking it, they shoot these little, if you look really closely at this, you probably can't see it from back there, but they have these little air pockets in it, which gives it more insulation and it feels better when you're walking on it. So they made this waterproof core, and they say you can store their core in a pool and pull it out, you know, and install it. It's 100% waterproof. So that's a WPC. I personally like WPC over SPC. Not that it's a better product. SPC is actually harder. It's the indentation rating is up to like 2,200 PSI or pounds per square inch PSI. WPC is around 900. But I always say, what in your home is more than 900 pounds in an inch? You know, so there's really not anything in a house that can indent a well-made WPC. So they're just extremely hard floors, extremely scratch resistant, extremely stain resistant, and they're 100% waterproof. So, and then Quartet, because they were a cork company, and cork is a waterproof product too. You have cork bobbers, you have cork in wine bottles, so it's a waterproof product too. They put it on the back, and it's just an excellent sound absorber. It deadens the noise when you're walking on it, and it insulates the product. So this product actually stays at neutral temperature all year round. So we have people ask, can I put heat under this? I always say you're not going to feel it because it's such an insulated product. So it's just kind of a waste of money on that. So that's how a luxury vinyl is made. I have some products here that are the SPC. Using the SPC core, this basically looks like that. The SPC is the stone plastic core, and it's made up of, most of the time it's limestone, and most of the time on an SPC, so if you have a 20 mil wear layer and it's 8 millimeters thick, and you have a WPC that has a 20 mil wear layer and it's 8 millimeters thick, SPC most of the time is going to be cheaper. Even though it's a harder core, just the cost to produce it, just using rock basically, is a lot cheaper than producing a WPC. I like the WPC because they seem to just sound better when you walk on them. So even though we sell tons of SPC, it's a great product. It's going to have the same wear rating, same waterproof features. Especially these thicker WPCs. It's hard to make a WP or a SPC this thick because they get too heavy. The stone, these SPCs, they're extremely heavy. Even this, this is 7 millimeters thick. If you picked up a board of this, it's pretty heavy. So I don't know if the market will ever go to like a 10 millimeters thick or 12 or 20 on the SPC, just on the WPC. And then there's that third one was a Cortex stone. And basically, it's even harder than limestone. It's mineral based. The same idea, plastic and minerals, they crush it up, 100% waterproof. It's just harder to indent. It doesn't, even though we've never had an issue with these WPCs or SPCs, the temperature range is a lot bigger in a Cortex stone. You can have heat, up to, I don't know what, 200 something degrees hit it, down below freezing, even below zero on that Cortex stone, which we tell you not to put it outside. So I don't know why you would need that big of a swing. So all of them are great products. I brought up while ago laminate, because laminate gets confused a lot with all these products. Even today I was dealing with somebody and they're like, they said we had engineered for years and it's just clicky and it's bubbled on the edges, and I was like, you mean laminate? They're like, no, it's engineered. So I showed them, they're like, yeah, it's the laminate. So laminate is actually, I brought a piece, and actually, basically the box stores have cheapened laminate. You can get actually really nice, hard, a laminate floor is the hardest floor to indent, and it's the hardest floor to scratch. But it's not, and I don't care what brand or manufacturer says, they're not waterproof. They're water resistant. There's some of the biggest brands out there, they're hanging their hat on waterproof laminate. We actually sell them, and we tell people they're water resistant, not waterproof, because we've had issues with them puckering on the edge, especially with pets. If you think waterproof, you're thinking like even that means my pet can go to the bathroom on it. It's waterproof. So, and these companies have made a mistake by putting pets on their brochures, and so it's just most all of our clients, and I always say pets keep us in business. We tease about giving puppies away when we're making a sale, because we replace so many floors through the year because of pets. I'm grateful for them, but they do tear up a lot of floors. But a good laminate is actually a really good floor. And this is what a laminate is, just almost like an MDF core that has just been pressed so densely that you're just not going to indent it. And then the top layer, it has like a melamine plastic protective coating, and that's what makes it so scratch resistant. So laminate sales are not great anymore, but it is, you can get it. If you just want laminate, you can get a really good floor. The last product I'll talk about, and I'll talk about trend a little bit, and we'll talk about why you choose one over the other, and then any questions you have. This is something I'm actually excited about, waterproof hardwood. So and the guy that is in charge of this, the company's called American OEM, they're an American-based company. He came to my office the other day. We're, I think, top 5 in the country on one of his products that we sell, and they sell them all over the country. But we just sell a ton of one of their colors on hardwood. So he was in my office the other day. He's like, nobody ever asked me these questions, but we always want to know, like, how is it made? Like, why is it waterproof? So you tell me that, like, what do you do in the factory to make it that way? So I got a lot of good information on them. And another thing with us, we have a lot of good blogs on our website. If I find out good information, I tell our marketing girl, like, here, like, write down all this information, do a little bit more research, call this guy, and let's do a blog on it. And not just for our customers, but for all my employees, so they can read the blog and know how to educate, the customers when we come in. We do a lot of videos too, and I think we just did this is called Rain Tree. So we just did a Rain Tree video, which basically what I'm about to tell you, we did it in a little longer version. So this is hickory, real hickory veneer. The core of it, and I brought one. This one we put down in our showroom last week. The core of it is an SPC core. So it has the waterproof core, just like an SPC luxury vinyl. It has the waterproof, this is called a closed cell memory foam. So you can pour water over this and just watch it roll around. It doesn't absorb anything. And a lot of luxury vinyl has this closed cell memory foam. But you still have wood on top. So, and that was my question to him, like, okay, so your core is waterproof, your vacuum's waterproof, but you're still dealing with a floor that can expand. It's hygroscopic, it can expand and contract. So he said, basically they put this veneer, this is a 1.2 millimeter veneer, they put it in a steam press, and they crush all those cells that gain the moisture and release the moisture. So they crush a majority of them so it can't gain moisture and release it. And then after that, they put it through this, a little cheesy, they call it their Ninja formula, but it's a waterproofing formula, and they soak it all the way through that 1.2 millimeter veneer, and it's completely soaked from top to back in this waterproof product. And the other cool thing about the waterproofing product is it hardens it takes a long time for it to soak through because they basically crushed all those cells, but it hardens it from the inside out because it dries and hardens the product. So it's actually harder to indent and harder to scratch than a normal hardwood floor is. And then this American OEM, they always put a certain thickness of finish, aluminum oxide hardeners on any hardwood, and they put that same finish on top of this hardwood to protect it even more with scratches and fading. So as far as quality, it's probably going to be one of the toughest hardwood floors that we're going to be able to sell as far as scratching and indentation. It locks and clicks like a luxury vinyl, so we can literally put this in any room in your house, your bathroom, your laundry room. They did a test where they actually put a cut board like this, because I asked them about, if we put it in the bathroom, once we butt it up to the tub, we have to cut those boards, and then you have an exposed edge there. And he said, that's when he brought up, like, it's soaked all the way through, but he said you can, and we've done some already, you can silicone caulk the edges to kind of seal that edge. But they actually did a test where they stuck it, and I don't know why, an aquarium. I don't know if there's fish in there or whatever, but they stuck it in an aquarium and they left it in there for a week. And they said when they pulled it out, there was no signs of growth, and the water actually absorbed into the edge only 1/4 of an inch.
Oh.
So it literally was a waterproof, even soaked in water. So I'm extremely excited about this, just because people like the idea of the waterproofing of the luxury vinyl, but they want the look of real hardwood. So this is going to give us both 100% hardwood floor. So this is called Rain Tree, and I should have looked at the price before. I think it's under $6 a foot, something like that. And Cortec actually has come out with one that you have to glue down. So it's the same idea. They put it on their WPC core, real wood on top. They put a waterproofing membrane on the top, and then you have to actually glue it. It doesn't float like a luxury vinyl. So why you would choose one over the other is basically the ease of living that makes luxury vinyl such a popular floor. Like, you could literally, your kids or grandkids could spill a gallon of tea, walk away, and you don't have to worry about it. And if you wipe it up tomorrow or 2-3 days from now, it's not going to stain it, and it's not going to make the floor react in any way. Hardwood, you just have to take a little more care. I have people ask me all the time, what would you do? And I always say hardwood. I don't even know your scenario yet, but hardwood, just because I like hardwood. But then sometimes when they tell me their scenario, I'm like, yeah, luxury vinyl. If you have 4 dogs running around, and 4 kids or whatever. I have 4 kids, but a good, well-built hardwood, as long as you're maintaining it and telling your kids to keep razor blades off of it, and just don't be stupid, and it can last a long time. But scratches and indentations, that's just part of the character of a floor of a hardwood floor over the years. So color, actually, on a hardwood floor, color has it plays a huge part in how you see the scratching and you see the dirt on a hardwood floor. So the trend right now, and that's why I brought so many light floors. The trend right now is neutral, light, clean, airy type floors. So this has been in the last 3 months, this has been by far our best selling product. It's 3/4 inch engineered, so it's same thickness as your tile, same thickness as an old hardwood floor. It has the thick 3mm veneer, but the reason why people love it is the look. This is white oak, this light, airy look is just huge right now. In our showroom, we've actually done a video on this. When you walk into our front door, our very first hardwood, is about 800 feet of it there, is a dark hardwood. And in the winter, it's nice in the winter because we can show off why medium to light colors are so important. When you walk in and especially there's salt on the ground, you see everybody's footprints. And we'll literally mop it 5-6 times a day, just so it doesn't look, we're a flooring store, our floors have to look good. So, but you walk across that 800 square feet, and when you hit the next floor, it's more of this tone, and it's almost like everybody disappeared. You just don't see the footprints anymore. And that's why this medium to lighter tone is so popular, just because it hides almost everything. You almost feel it before you see it, as far as the dirt. So another section of our showroom is a natural hickory, which this is natural hickory here. And I'll tell people to look, see if you see any scratches on it, and they're like, no, that looks really good. It's been down 4 years in that section. But if you get down and look at it, there's a million scratches on it, but you just don't see it, because when you scratch a hardwood, you're scratching polyurethane. When you scratch polyurethane, it turns like a milky color. So if you have a really dark background and you have a milky light scratch, you just see that milky scratch a lot easier. If you scratch this and you have a milky scratch on it, you just really don't see it unless you're just down there looking for it. So the light colors are huge right now. I think in the next, and we do this trends class at the beginning of the year for our customers and designers and stuff at our store. And we go to these big flooring shows, a couple of them a year in Vegas, and we get to see what from all around the planet, what all the manufacturers are bringing in. And it's crazy to me how the Midwest we're kind of in, I know all of you have heard it, we're kind of in a bubble here. So all the trends that have been huge for years on the East Coast and the West Coast, they either don't ever hit us, they go over our bubble, or they just take forever to get to us. So we'll see products that, you know, we're talking about at our store, and we're bringing them in slowly. And so white oak, natural white oak was one of those like 3 or 4 years ago. I was telling everybody, you know, just because luxury vinyl is so huge, because it's just kind of a mindless floor, you don't have to worry about it. This light natural white oak is going to be the same thing. And we're replacing all the floors of the houses that were built in the 80s and 90s, especially the 90s, and all those houses had honey oak cabinets, you know, honey oak gold trim, and a lot of these lighter natural floors match that trim and match, you know, those cabinets. So you don't have to just totally gut your whole house or paint your cabinets. So we have specific floors that we can coordinate with your old trim and make your trim look nice and not dated. So that's you know, kind of why these lighter floors, they just kind of go with everything. So I think coming up, I think the next wave of trend is going to be a medium rich tone. And I don't even know, kind of like between this, not a dark tone, but just kind of a medium tone. We're seeing so many cabinets, like island cabinets. We do a ton of custom homes in Springfield. And you know, when we're seeing these 3 million, 5 million, whatever houses that we're going in, and we get to see, you know, how they're staining stuff, and usually those homes they've gone out and sought trends from East Coast and West Coast, and we're seeing a lot of that happening. We get to see kind of like firsthand like how these trends are coming into the Springfield area. But we see so many like islands that are stained that just perfect medium wood tone. And it used to be just like painted, you know, islands like blue and green, which they're still big. But we're seeing a ton of this medium tone, and I think the wood floors are just going to kind of follow that like real kind of richer medium tone. So that's what I think on the trend. This is a luxury vinyl. I brought this to show you like a solid wood. This is white oak. This is a engineered white oak. When they're installed, there's not a flooring guy on the planet that can tell you I can't walk into a house and say if that's engineered or solid, because there's real wood on top. You know, when they're installed, you're walking on real wood. Some people are concerned with the quality of engineered, the finish. I tell everybody it all depends on the factory where they're coming from, because there's some factories that you can pick a color and pick engineered or solid, and it goes through the same finishing process. So they stain it the same, they put the same amount of coats of finish on it, it's the same exact wear that you're going to get on the engineered or solid. So the fact that it's not real, you know, and sometimes, you know, you just want solid, and that's fine, you know, but we just kind of educate like we can't warrant, no one's going to warrant it if you get too wide, you know, type thing. So we just try to tell you like we're great with it. But I had a guy last year was just like, nope, I'm going to do things the way we've always done it, and you know, and this just, you can't ruin a good old product. I'm like, that's fine as long as we stay narrow. He's like, no, you know, solid wood just can't do it. And I'm like, if I go to the doctor tomorrow, I want the doctor that has the like most up-to-date education, and like I want them to do heart surgery on me, you know, how they're doing it today, not how they were doing it 20 years ago. You know, the old time ways, some of them are great, but if there's a new way to do it in a specific, you know, product or a specific scenario, I want to know about it. Especially, I mean, you know, one, it's not life or death, but it was just an example. Like, you know, if there's a new way to do heart surgery, I mean, please tell me. You know, that's all I'm trying to do is tell you like engineered floors can be, you know, a better option for you. So anybody have any questions on their particular product or project? I know that's a lot.
You know, if I'm looking for a house, I mean, it means something kind of, maybe as an older person, that it's advertised newer hardwood throughout.
Right.
Where if the ad says newer vinyl throughout,
right.
Is there,
That's
you
a good-
notice any kind of
That's a good question.
resale, for resale?
So the Realtor Board actually, and this has been out for years, and actually, I keep bringing up Cortec, but there's a lot of good products other than Cortec, but Cortec actually put the letter out saying that luxury vinyl, the Realtor Board is now appraising a luxury vinyl floor. The appraisal world is appraising it at the same cost as a hardwood.
Really?
So if somebody walks in and says, hey, I'm selling my house tomorrow, should I put luxury vinyl or wood in? I'm always gonna say put wood, because people still perceive, even if you put a cheap wood in, people still perceive that as real wood. Even though the luxury vinyl might last them way longer, it's just that perceived value. So, and the same with engineered versus solid. I have my real estate license, and that's what I did before, I started this store 14, 15 years ago. We were flipping homes and representing customers, and it was the same then. An engineered or solid, you don't have to say whether it's one or the other, and most realtors wouldn't even know the difference. Or the only way you can tell is like if you pull up an air vent, if you can, and see the side of it and see if it's. So engineered or solid, you sell the house as real hardwood floors either way. But luxury vinyl versus hardwood, but I say that's my opinion. We have builders that put luxury vinyl in a lot of their spec houses, and right now you can sell anything, but they've been doing it for years, and there's a market for it. So if you're doing it to sell a house, my opinion is it's safer to put a hardwood in. And the reality right now is you can put hardwood in cheaper than you can put a good quality luxury vinyl in. If you're just trying to sell the house, I have hardwoods that are $2.99 a foot. I have one luxury vinyl right now just because I bought like 10 truckloads of it. It's a crazy deal, but normally I don't have luxury vinyl as cheap as I do hardwood.
So we're remodeling our basement, and so in a basement where you're on slab, it's a completely, it's a walkout basement. It's a dry basement. It's 34 years old and it's never had any water in it. Would you dare put hardwood or, do the engineered one? But so would you dare do the engineered hardwood?
Yeah. So my house that we're redoing right now, I put it all through our basement. So we do it all the time. So in a basement, an engineered hardwood is pretty much all of them. It'll say you can glue it, nail it, or float it. So when you're gluing it, you're usually gluing it over concrete floor. So it can go below grade, on grade, and above grade, just because it's dimensionally stable. So in your basement, you have a few options of how you install it. I installed mine by gluing it down. Now, if you ever had to tear that up, it's a bear to tear up and glue down hardwood floor. It comes up in chunks and splintered, but it's down. You just pray you never have a water leak or a water issue. Or you can float it, and my whole showroom is floated just because I want to be able to replace 800 feet and put another one in pretty easily. So to do that, you put a rubber membrane down. It's a rubber pad, it's real thin so it doesn't move, because you don't want that tiny groove to move when you step on it, or you'll break that glue down. And then you just glue the tiny grooves together. And it's just one big sheet of hardwood. But if you ever had an issue or wanted to change it, it's easier to tear up. The glue down feels better to me when you walk on it. You don't ever have any hollow sounds to it. If you put one of these real heavy hardwoods engineered down, I don't think it would really sound hollow, especially if you put that rubber membrane. You can put like a cheap laminate pad under it, but we always just recommend that rubber membrane. It just sounds better when you walk on it. So, but yeah, I did it. We recommended it for a long time. Yes, ma'am.
I have two questions. One, is there on the luxury vinyl, is the WPC as waterproof as the stone or the Cortec?
Yes. Yeah, it's all 100%. So it's all. So Cortec makes Cortec stone. They make SPC and they make WPC. So it's one company that makes all three. They don't say one is more waterproof or better than the other. Now the biggest difference is the indentation.
Right.
So an SPC and a Cortex stone, it's got a higher indentation rate than a WPC.
Okay.
But the beauty of the WPC is it normally sounds better in a house.
Right.
So,
And I heard that it can be a little warmer in the winter also?
yes, the WPC can.
My other question was, is there, I heard that it was easier to install if you're doing it yourself, the luxury vinyl, as opposed to like laminate or something else.
So laminate and luxury vinyl, they're going to install the same way. Their
Oh.
locking system.
Right.
The laminate, you for sure have to have a saw, you know, a miter saw, table saw. Luxury vinyl, you can, it depends on the thickness of it, you can score it and break it like sheetrock.
But the thicker ones, you're still gonna need a saw.
Yeah, you'll still need a saw for those. But if we're doing a thinner one, our professionals that are on a job, just so they're not getting up and down off their knees, they'll keep knives and razor blades and score it, pop it, and, you know, on their end cuts, and just keep installing like that, so they're not going in and out of the house. So, but the engineer, you have to be, if you're doing a real wood, you have to have a lot more tools. You know, have to have some way to nail it down. That you're not locking it in, you're just basically tongue and grooving it and then nailing through the tongue. So
Okay.
if you're, one thing I say, if you're handy and crafty, you can do all three. You know, the engineer, you just have to have certain tools for it, but it's the same concept. You have to leave an expansion gap around everything, but you're just installing it a little different. But carpet, on the other hand, I always tell people you'll want to hire us to do your carpet, because that's, even though it's cheaper, way cheaper on our labor rate, you know, to install carpet, I've tried to do it in like rental house or whatever, and and I go to these classes with our crews, and I tell crews how to do it, but actually doing it, it's hard to do. It takes a skill, and that's a scary thing for just construction in general. Is the next generation of you know, laborers to do these types of floors, especially, you know, carpet and things like that you just can't like learn from reading a book, you know. So it's, and actually the big manufacturers like Mohawk, they're coming out with carpets that you don't need an installer for. They just lay flat in the room, tape the seams, and for years they've been trying to get me to put it in the house and in our store, and we just have too good of crews right now that it's not, we don't need it in our store, but I can see why they're doing it. And that's the beauty of luxury vinyls, you do it yourself. You know, a lot of people just, and in our magazine, and I was showing somebody today, in our magazine we actually have, even though we offer installation, we have a DIY, this is step-by-step how you install luxury vinyl. Because it's just one thing we get asked all the time, like, where do I start? How, you know, like, what tools do I have? So there's like 2 or 3 pages in there, like step by step, this is how you do it. So, yes.
One of your pictures in here, it looks like I don't know if it's the wood flooring or the luxury vinyl, but it's pretty close to the fireplace. Are they heat resistant or something, or?
Yeah, well, it depends on the fireplace. So if it's a gas fireplace, we'll go right up next to it. If it's like a wood stove, we stay away from them. You'll want just like some
How much of a barrier hearth, I guess, should you have for wood floors versus the vinyl?
for like the
For a wood, yeah, wood burning.
I'd say like 18 inches to 2 feet, and each fireplace actually has their own rating. But most of the time, you'll see like a 12 by 12, like 2 deep on like a hearth area before we hit it with wood. So,
Okay.
but they all have their own. Yes, ma'am.
As far as trending, what is the gray one back there? What is that?
Oh yes, I'm glad you brought that up. So she asked about trending, like what are, like as far as gray. Well, this is actually a tile. It's a luxury vinyl tile. So gray is a tricky one on floors, because gray walls, 2 years from now you can paint over them. Gray floors, you're basically selling your house out in gray. So you just have to make sure you want gray for the rest of the time you're there, because it's hard to change out. Not carpet, you know, you can do gray. We do tons of gray carpet. So this is a grayish type floor that we sell tons of. Because if you wanted to decorate, again, I was helping a guy today that he was actually picking out these floors, which is a brown floor, but he had gray in his bathroom. So this is what he's doing. He's showing me his gray cabinets. If he ever changed to a white cabinet or some kind of tan cabinet, this floor would still really look good with it. It has gray and tan in it. So most of the hardwoods and luxury vinyls that we sell that are gray, they're grayish. You know, you can switch from one to the other. Now we do stock, and we do have just, I don't think I even brought any. We do have just gray. If you're doing, you know, really modern, and you just want stark gray, we have those floors too. But the sales on those are, you know, not anywhere close to the grayish type of floors that have a little bit of gray, a little bit of brown on them. And this floor, I meant to talk about it. So this is a luxury vinyl tile. If you want a tile look. So all the same things I talked about with the SPC and the WPC, this is actually an SPC product. And it has an integrated grout system, which means it looks like it's grouted, but it's not real grout. It's part of that protected vinyl layer. So, and this is actually in our booth. We put it on the floor in part of our booth, and it's amazing how realistic this stuff looks down. There's people, and we have it installed in our showroom. People today, I was helping in the store, just couldn't believe it's not real tile. So the benefits of this over tile, it's not near as hard. You know, the other day we have tile in a section over the house. I dropped my wife, hit my watch off the shelf, and my watch broke on the tile. You know, and if it was luxury vinyl, it's probably wouldn't have. It's a lot softer product. Not near as cold, so you don't have to worry about in the winter the tile just being freezing cold. Luxury vinyl just stays pretty neutral temperature year round, and just the padding and stuff on the back, on your joints, you know, just standing on this if you're putting it in the kitchen or just wherever you're putting it in the house, it's a lot easier to live on. And you don't have to maintain a grout line. You know, you can have a grouted look, but you don't have the maintenance of it. And I don't even sell tile anymore. We did for years. And you know, there's so many stain-proof grout joints. There's not a dirt-proof grout joint. You know, dirt just always gets in the grout lines, and it's hard to get. Once a grout line gets dirty, it's hard to ever. Maybe a Kool-Aid won't stain it, but the dirt, you know, the soil will make it look bad over here. So, just a little easier to maintain a floor like this. This is another board I brought just to kind of show some stuff we can do with a hardwood and a luxury vinyl. We can actually do matching air vents that are flush mount. I couldn't find one of our samples of luxury vinyl, but we have it luxury vinyl too. The company that does it for me, they basically make it out of the flooring. So they have a water jet machine that cuts the vent out of the flooring, and they cut the grooves, and we install something over your vent opening, and then it's a metal tray, and then we put the vinyl vent, set it into the floor, and it has a magnet that's built into the back. So if you ever wanted to turn that vent off, you just take it off that metal, the magnet off of that metal tray, turn it the other way, and those grooves don't line up anymore, and it seals it shut. So it's a neat product. We sell tons of them just because they're unique. Yes, ma'am.
What if you put in hardwood floors and you didn't know about that?
You can't put them in after
You
that.
can go back in?
So we just top cut them and drop them in.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a necessity, but it's cool to have, and it looks sharp. They not even look sharp, it just kind of disappears. You don't see your vents on the floor.
And like when you clean and stuff, you're not running over that thing.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that at our showroom, we have a ton of them installed in different areas. One thing you have to be careful about, because it is flush, that you don't push all your dirt into the vent. You know, whenever I show people our vents, I'll pull it up and there's just tons of dirt. And then I think, like, I'm going to tell, you know, so-and-so to get this, and then I get sidetracked and I never think about it. And then the next time I pull it up and show somebody, it's like pretty much all the dirt in our stores in these vents. So, but that's just something you have to, at your house, you're going to pay a little more attention to stuff like that. We have cleaning crews that come in and just sweep. I'm sure it's a dust area. They can just sweep stuff until it disappears. So, but yeah, they're neat. It's a neat, you know, add-on to the floor. Any other questions? So our booth is down in the main area. I don't know what that's even called.
100?
The 100.
The main?
100?
100 Hall.
The 100 Hall. So we're a big booth out there, kind of by Meeks, I think. And the crew working there can answer any questions. I'll be outside here for a second if you have more questions. And we'd love for you to come by our showroom. We're open 8 to 6 through the week, 9 to 2 on Saturdays. And like I said before, no one there is on commission. Any of us can help you. And visit our website too. We have built that to be a wealth of information. We have sales reps that visit, stores around the country, and they're like, we'll go to this. We were in Michigan the other day, and they had your website pulled up.
Oh.
Basically copying stuff we're doing. But we have a full-time girl that's just always updating that every day, updating our social media, putting information out. So we like to just. I tell our crew when we train them, we're not here to sell something. We're here to educate. Because nobody walks into a flooring store just to browse. They're wanting to buy floors, so if we know more than the next guy, there's value in that. So we're just trying to educate. So, well, thanks for coming, guys. Let us know if you have any other questions. Feel free to come up and look at any of this stuff if you'd like.